How good is the start?
It's a good start.
It's a great start.
Yeah, it's the first win.
And why do we play?
You play to win the game.
And what do we want?
I want winners.
I'm not bipartisan. I'm not bipolar. I'm not Biden.
I'm by winning. I win here and I win there.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round. If that is something you're into, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, and answer the question in the comments below. Do you think Arch Manning should enter the 2026 NFL draft? As he has clarified, his position is not that he is absolutely positively going to forego entering the NFL draft next year. And he really went out of his way to do that, even saying, look, when my granddad, Arch Manning, told Texas Monthly, he's not really going to do that, it was wrong. And he got a I'm sorry text from grandpa about this. This is the first time that we've actually seen something like disagreement among the Mannings, who have been in lockstep every step of the way. And it was very well understood that Archie was running Arch's recruitment. Now, with some profiles that have come out here in the last few weeks, we've seen a lot more of Cooper Manning and his wife, I should say Arch's mom, having things to say about how he was recruited and how he ended up at Texas. And by now, you know the story. He saw Colt McCoy. That was his favorite player. He wanted to go to Texas, and he ends up going there where he's going to be the starting quarterback. When number 1 Texas travels to number 2 Ohio State to play what is the biggest game on the non-conference slate this year. And oh my goodness, I can't wait to get this game going. We've been talking about this game. It feels like every week since Ohio State won the national championship and needed to go through Texas to do it. Now, that Texas team was quarterbacked by Quinn Ewers, and people forget Quinn Ewers was the highest rated quarterback at any time, 2021, 2022, depending on when you want to reclassify him. And I thought, for the most part, he did what he said he was going to do, right? He brought Texas back. He played great Texas football. He won them a conference championship, took them to the college football playoff twice, beat Bama, just didn't get past Georgia, didn't get past Ohio State, which is interesting because, remember, he spent a semester at Ohio State as the third, fourth string quarterback, depending on who you want to believe. Took a snap, never really threw the ball. It was an odd fit, but at the time, Texas, business economy, with no state income tax, decided that it wanted to outlaw high school players getting name, image, and likeness deals, which made it impossible for Ewers to cash in on, well, his name, image, and likeness in the way that others get to do that now. Nico Iamaleava famously took advantage of this in high school, getting a $350,000 signing bonus, according to reports, right? Just before he got to Tennessee. Arch is the most bankable player in college football, and he has been very, very careful about who he has lended his name, image, and likeness to. Red Bull, EA Sports College Football 2025, 26, so forth, so on. But he's also said, look, I have done nothing to deserve any of the praise, recognition, or attention that I've been given. And there's something to that, right? Many detractors for Arch Manning will tell you, what has he done? And I'll say he's thrown for over 900 yards in 3 starts. He won every one of those games that he started. Now, it's Mississippi State, it's UTSA, and it's ULM, but he didn't start the UTSA game. He finished it. Also, really had a great breakout performance. And for him, it is, I think, us seeing the potential of what he could be. Right? We knew it coming out. We weren't quite sure because Isidore Newman doesn't really play a tough schedule, and it's a private school in New Orleans. We just didn't get to see, say, if he played at Duncanville, we'd have a great understanding of what he's capable of, or went to Corner Canyon and Draper or IMG, or even, pull out any major high school football program in the country if you want to and say, could he have done it there? And it looks like, yeah, he's every bit of 6'4", 220, and he's got wheels, absolutely fly. But I think it is interesting that he decided to say, no, I might still be thinking about this at the end. And that's interesting because there are lots of Texas folks that were taken aback by this, because the language that had been up until just a couple of days ago was he's going to be a 2-year starter at Texas, which is great for them if he plays well. But it's also not necessarily in his best interest, I think, to not play more than, let me put this another way. I think it's in his best interest to play 2 years at Texas. Run out your eligibility. Why? Okay. Look at the quarterback landscape in the NFL. Daniel Jones just got the start over Anthony Richardson, mostly because Anthony Richardson doesn't seem like the kind of dude that cares about football, but Daniel Jones very much cares about football, even if he's not as talented as Anthony Richardson. I think people are falling into the same trap with Lenore Sellers, who's talented, but I don't know that I'm going to try to make him into my future NFL starter. And as many NFL people will tell you, there are 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL, but not all of them are NFL quarterbacks, which is to say it's very difficult to operate offenses in the NFL at the scale that you need to play winning football. That's why they are so well paid, and that's why you can name the good ones mostly on one hand, right? Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. It's why you're overpaying for an old and injured Aaron Rodgers at Pittsburgh. You're overpaying for a 40-year-old starter at Cleveland, where you can make the argument they got 6 quarterbacks that they're paying, and none of them are good enough to play NFL football, but you're going to have to put a quarterback back there, right? People are excited about Jordan Love, who I was skeptical of when he got drafted because nobody threw more interceptions at the FBS level that last year at Utah State than he did, right? You keep going down the list on this, and you can run into guy after guy who was good to decent in college or even great in college that hasn't done much. Mac Jones, right? Who is now with the Los Angeles Chargers, quarterback for what I think is one of the best football teams of all time, maybe the greatest football team of all time in college football in 2020, right? You look at that team and you look at who's throwing the ball to. You look at what Jalen Hurts has had to develop into to be the kind of guy that can lead somebody to a Super Bowl. You think about how we talk about Dak Prescott. You think how people talk about Jaden Daniels and CJ Stroud. Is Arch Manning that guy? It seems to be. But if he is, he will be in another year. And if he has the season I think he can have, where Texas is pushing to win a national championship, there's not really a reason to stick around, but there also ain't a reason to leave. Like, I would take the Stetson Bennett tour here. And you are much more talented than Stetson Bennett. The only thing that you might say is if your NFL draft stock is at its peak, take advantage of that, because all you can do is go down and get a year older. I think that Arch Manning is going to make money, but money is not the thing that's most important to him. I am curious what is most important to him. Is it important to him to be a college football quarterback for as long as he possibly can? Or is it important for him to have a long and fruitful NFL career just as soon as he can? Those two things don't have to be at odds with each other, but the nature of the sport is, if you know that you got a guy behind Arch Manning that needs to get onto the football field, is he going to be as patient as Arch was with Quinn Ewers? Maybe, maybe not, right? Diabell joins up next year, and that would give him a year to sit behind Arch Manning, which I think is really in the plan for Steve Sarkisian in Texas. But plans change. Sometimes you got to pivot. It could be that Texas gets off to a terrible start, and it could be that Arch Manning throws 3 interceptions in the first 2 games, or maybe he throws 3 against Ohio State, and his stock goes down. What have you, right? If anything, I think it's kind of cool to see Arch Manning step up here and take ownership for the decisions that he's going to have to make, and not necessarily filtering them through his people being his granddad, his father, his uncles, and understanding that wherever he goes, he's a Manning, right? Wherever he goes, he is one of the first football families, a member of it. It's funny that he got left off the Manning watch list, but I'm not sure what to make of that exactly. I don't know if that's a play on Arch hasn't done anything to be on this list and we're not going to put him there, or it's just maybe you don't think he's that good. I don't think that's true. I think humility plays a big part in our sport. I think it plays a big part in our society. If you show that you have it, if you show that you have some, we're much more likely to be friendly to you when things don't go your way. That's why you can see a real difference between how people talk about Arch Manning and how people talk about Shedeur Sanders. There are people like myself that love Shedeur Sanders' get down, like Arch Manning's get down too, but I like it because it's authentic. I like it because both of those guys are walking through the world as only they can. Shedeur is a confident man. That is how he goes about the world. He does not look at football as something that he can't conquer. He doesn't look at the NFL as something he doesn't deserve to play in or happy to be there. That's not who he is. That's not who the Sanders are. They're never happy to be there. They want to be there to win, and they expect everybody else around them to expect them to win. And that includes media, and that includes other coaches. Arch carries it a little bit differently. He would really like to let his football do the talking. He's got a kind of aw shucks sensibility about him, and that can be endearing too, because then people get to tell you good things, and they get to say good things about you to others. I've said that Arch Manning is a football coach's wet dream because he doesn't care about name, image, and likeness in the way that some do. He just wants to play. He's also not in a hurry to play right away. He's going to do the work, and he's going to be coachable. That's the trait that I think is really the one that separates him with all of his talent. He has an ability to remain coachable. It's hard because coaching takes on a lot of different forms, right? I'm being coached as a cyclist now, and it's a lot like playing football again. I've said to some of my my friends that I ride with, it's been a long time since somebody put me out in routes. I'm usually the person putting people out in routes. So if you go run with me, I got a sub 20-minute 5K, which means that I'm trying to get other people into running, and I'll coach them up. In cycling, I'm learning as I go, and I feel like Bambi with a turbocharger because I got this big aerobic engine, but I'm not as fluid on a bike as others are. So I need to take the coaching, right? Learning the value of drafting, learning the value of taking the right line, learning the value of group riding and understanding signals and calling these things out. It's very much like playing a sport. You have to communicate constantly to know what's coming and to call out the danger. Cars up, rider up. All these things matter, right? As this sport is also ridiculously expensive, not unlike football or travel baseball. But the point here is, if I'm not coachable, it's not going to work. And some coaches, they need to yell at you to get their point across, and they need to do it directly. Sometimes you'll hear a coach say, if you let me coach you, you're going to be great. You have the talent to do this. And I get this as in the cycling community. It's like, just let us coach you. So sometimes it's ginger hand, and other times it's RJ, clip in, let's go. You got to be able to take the coaching. I don't know that there are a lot of quarterbacks that are capable of doing that at the level that they need to anymore, even as the quarterback is the most coddled position in all of football, and I don't think it's close, right? It's kind of like pitchers. A catcher breaks his arm, dislocates his shoulder, says, "Nah, I'm good, coach. Just rub some dirt on it. We're back in here." Same thing with the shortstop. Pitcher, I got a hangnail. I can't throw today. Okay. Quarterbacks almost never get yelled at, right? But they do get coached pretty hard, especially when we're talking about film review and what were you thinking about? Did you make the right decision? If you made the right decision, then we get to look at the rest of the play. Did the offensive line do its job? Did the wide receivers do their job? Did the running back do his job and pass protect? Or why didn't you get us out of this bad play? This is why we give you the opportunity to audible. You got to make the offensive coordinator right here. Can't wait to see how much that Arch Manning is capable of doing in Steve Sarkisian's offense, which has a lot of motion, a lot of window dressing, and a lot of RPO, which means you have a lot of pre-snap reads and you have an instantaneous post-snap read. And sometimes you got to be able to make it happen, run around there a little bit. And that's going to be what Arch Manning is doing best, I think, in this offense. All right. When we come back, I want to talk about the Heisman odds as I see them according to Bet Online and where Arch Manning fits in all of that. Back on Adapt and Respond with me, RJ Young. If you are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, like this video, and answer the question in the comments below. Who do you think is going to win the 2025 Heisman? As I got odds from Bet Online, who is partnering with the show for the start of the college football season. Very excited about that. And you've seen a lot of content with their image. And frankly, I'm having a good time talking about the odds and talking about the spread and talking about the money line, even though I don't bet and I don't believe that I'm ever going to bet. However, I think that knowing these lines and these odds are good indicators of what people think and what the public thinks. It's why we do college football rankings, frankly. It's kind of the same thing. It's not necessarily that you believe that this person is going to win. You know that the public believes that this person is going to win. And that gives us a good jumping off spot. It also makes it really difficult for others to enter the fray, right? So if you got long Heisman odds and you play on a football team that isn't very good, you're probably not going to end up there. But if you got long Heisman odds on a team that ends up being very good, say Ashton Jeanty last year, it could be a lot of fun to watch how these things change. I also think that it's interesting to find out which non-quarterbacks make the cut. Remember, Travis Hunter was a non-quarterback that won the Heisman Trophy. Year before that, Jaden Daniels, right? Then we got to go back a few years, get to Devontae Smith, wide receiver. It's really difficult to be a non-quarterback in this day and age and win the Heisman Trophy, even as a running back, because the Heisman Trophy used to be a running back award before it was a quarterback award. But looking at the odds now, I capped this at 25-1 because I can get to 40-1, and they go that far. But I thought 25-1 was a good place to cap it because it gets us to our second non-quarterback. So I'm going to start at the bottom of Bet Online's Heisman odds and go through them. So 25-1, where we're starting, Alabama wide receiver Ryan Williams. Makes a lot of sense, right? Ryan Williams is the second best wide receiver in the entire sport behind Jeremiah Smith. And if he gets the kind of service that I think he's going to get from Ty Simpson, you could see him turn into the kind of guy that Rome Odunze was at Washington. Meaning, we're not going to overcomplicate this. Now that we got Ryan Grubb back at offensive coordinator and we think we got a guy that can run the offense, we're going to feed the football to our wide receivers, to the guys with the best hands, and we're going to try to take the top off the defense as often as we can. Coming off a 9-4, they expect to make the college football playoff here in 2025. And at 25-1, if you got the funds and you think that's a good investment, sure. I mean, for a non-quarterback and one from Alabama to win it, it's not that far-fetched. But again, that's not Nick Saban's Alabama now. That's Kalen DeBoer's Alabama. Then at 20-1, interestingly, Dante Moore, another guy, not unlike Arch Manning or like the other 15 new starters in the top 25. Like, that's wild. We only got 10 guys that started week 1 last year that are starting week 1 this year in the top 25. Dante Moore is one of those guys that's getting his opportunity. This is as much a bet on Will Stein and that offense and Dan Lanning in Oregon going 25-3 the last 2 years as it is on Dante Moore, who was a 5-star coming out, who did end up starting at UCLA, probably got a little bit ahead of himself. Then Chip Kelly decides he's going to go to Ohio State. And Dante Moore goes in the portal, comes out at Oregon, spends a year as an understudy to Dylan Gabriel, and now he's ready to rock and roll. At 18-1, Julian Sayin, another new starter, right? Another guy that hasn't played football at this level in any meaningful way, but he's getting 18-1 because he's the quarterback of the defending national champs who also got, that Martian over there that is Jeremiah Smith, a dude from another dimension, man. Carson Beck at 18-1. Getting the same odds as Julian Sayin, even though he started at Georgia and led Georgia to an SEC championship and another college football playoff appearance. This is Miami, though. This is not Georgia, and that's one of the reasons I think 18-1 fits. Nico Iamaleava at 16-1 is wild to me. UCLA is not good, and Nico wasn't great last year either. He was mediocre by Tennessee standards. Like, that's the thing, man. I really understand that you want to believe that he's going to turn UCLA into a monster, but it doesn't feel that way. At 16-1, I don't see it. I would have him having longer odds to win the Heisman Trophy than Ryan Williams at this point. Lenore Sellers at 16-1, South Carolina. They expect to be good this year. He expects to be good this year. He develops as a passer. That could be good money, but that South Carolina schedule and that SEC is something different. Same thing with John Mateer at 16-1. I think he's coming into a team that went 6-7 last year. I got him ranked as number 10 team in the country in large part because I think he's that good. Remember, the last time that Oklahoma had a 3,000-yard passer and a 1,000-yard rusher, it won a conference championship. It made the college football playoff. It won 12 games. Now, that was when Kyler Murray was quarterback. But my point here is John Mateer was 3,000-yard passer at Washington State and Jaden Ott the last year that he was healthy, 1,300 yards. If you can get that kind of production out of those guys in the SEC, yeah, John Mateer is probably going to rise up in the Heisman odds. Drew Aller at 16-1. I still need to see Drew Aller beat a good team. I'm going to keep saying it until it's no longer true. They're 1-15 with James Franklin against top 5 opponents. And a big reason is Drew Aller, who threw away the opportunity to beat Notre Dame and get to the national championship game and get some vengeance against Ohio State. But now they're 0-7 the last 4 years against Michigan and Ohio State, or, the two teams that you probably need to beat if you're going to try to win a Big Ten championship or a national championship. Last year, it was Oregon, and they couldn't get past them, even though it was the new money. DJ Lagway at 16-1. This is more of a comment on DJ Lagway's injury history, right? This is a dude that can't seem to go more than a couple months without some injury to hold him out of either practice or play. Wrap that dude in bubble wrap. Get him on the rehab program, because when he plays, Florida is great. When he starts the game, they're 6-1. When he starts and finishes the game, they're 6-0. The one was Georgia. They should have beaten that Georgia team if he could have finished. If he's healthy the whole year, 16-1 feels really, really good to me. Jeremiah Smith locking in at 12-1. That is the best odds for a non-quarterback going into the 2025 season this year. Really, really interesting stuff, because you would expect the quarterback to have better Heisman odds than the wide receiver, but because of the kind of juice Jeremiah Smith showed, particularly in the playoff last year, it's difficult to say he's not the best player on that team. He just needs the service. And if Julian Sayin can my goodness, I'm getting so excited about myself. Julian Sayin, I'm just going to start calling him Super Saiyan. It's easier for me. And, well, we're all here for the Dragon Ball Z references. I need you to be Brawley, Jeremiah Smith. That's what I need. I need you to be Brawley. I need you to take it to another level, right? We saw the 75 catches, 76 catches for 1,300 yards, something like 15 touchdowns. I think you got an 1,800-yard season in you. I think you got a 100-catch season in you. And I think Brian Hartline is not going to make the mistake that Chip Kelly did and just try to play man ball until such a time as, hey, we've got 4 and you don't. We're just going to do that until you can stop it. And if you want to bracket him, cool. We got Carnell Tate. We got Brandon Ennis. And if we want to run the football with a power back like C.J. Donaldson, or do everything back like James Peoples, or even Turbo Rogers, we got it, right? We can do that. I think that Jeremiah Smith is in line to win the Biletnikoff Award going away. It's about whether or not he's going to win the Heisman Trophy. That's going to be interesting. And then you get to the 3 guys that most people believe have the best shot to win this. 2 are returning starters. Cade Klubnik at 12-1. I mean, this is a guy who's really grown up in a short amount of time, who, with his legs, carried Clemson into the ACC championship and then won them an ACC championship, made the college football playoff. I didn't see it with him coming out of high school. I really didn't. I was going, the arm, I don't like his mechanics. I didn't think he had a powerful enough arm to get it done. He has proven me wrong. He's matured. He's become the kind of guy that it's easy to rally around, and is the best quarterback that Dabo has had since Trevor Lawrence, right? But also could be the best quarterback that he had since Deshaun Watson. We'll see, right? Just depends on how this season goes, because they go 16-0. That's going to be remarkable. And if they can get this win against LSU, it's going to be easy to see people really climbing aboard the Cade Klubnik train for a Heisman Trophy. But they got to get past LSU. And Garrett Nussmeier threw for 4,000 yards last year. He is the top returning SEC quarterback in that metric. He's got guys at wide receiver, Perrion Brown, Nick Anderson, to name 2, right? They're going to be hellacious defensively. Harold Perkins is going to try to make hell for Cade Klubnik. Same thing with, they got Whit Weeks. They got Harold Perkins. They got Patrick Payton. It's going to be fun. I can't wait for that game, because LSU got to travel to the real Death Valley and see if they can't go get a W. They'll go get a W. We might be talking about Garrett Nussmeier being in a race with this guy at the top, and that's Arch Manning at 6-1. Guy who has not started more than 2 games, and a guy whose best win is Mississippi State. But also, his name rings out. People know him the way that you know Shedeur Sanders in the NFL. He's a popular guy. He's a charismatic guy when he wants to be, even though he's got that aw shucks attitude, but he can play. And with DeAndre Moore, with Ryan Wingo, with CJ Baxter, with Travion Wisener, they're going to have everything they need to be great in 2025. And if he is a 3,000, 1,000 guy, which is not out of the question, I don't think Steve Sarkisian wants that because he's going to hand the ball to the running backs. It can be great. Now, I think if Texas makes the playoff, it's going to be easy for me to talk about him throwing for 4,500 yards and 45 TDs. But they got games against teams that are good. Like if I'm going to pick it, that Georgia game is the one they lose. Going to Sanford's hard. Ask anybody that goes to Sanford. Nobody's been able to win there since 2019. If they can win there, cancel it. It's his. We're done with the Heisman ballot. They're undefeated and they beat Georgia and Sanford. They make the SEC championship game. He's going to win the Heisman Trophy because he will be that integral to their success. You might disagree. And if you do, let me know about it in the comments below. Deuces.